because I hate to be told what to do.
Yeah. Once again.
That subject's coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Okay. I believe that we are almost there. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, we are on. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting to be live with you today. There it is. There it is. Okay, everybody out there, all you rich girls and some of you rich guys, this is recording number 112. And I couldn't be more excited to have on today my really good friend. And she is not only a super CEO, leader, special speaker, trainer, she develops people's potential, which is really great to have us assist with that. And she is an extraordinary woman, and I just had to have her on today. And so she's going to be talking with you. And I have to tell you that there are like questions that we have actually asked. So this is kind of cool. So we're going to rock and roll with this. Okay, so one of the first topics that she talks about in her book is labels and pivoting. But I want to tell you something, a couple things before you're all listening to her, and she's going to give you some great information today, is that the Diana Sumpter that you are going to hear today was not this Diana Sumpter of years back. It wasn't the passion, the purpose-filled person. She has a story that she talks about in her book that's called Step Out of the Box, which I want to tell you is a fast, wisdom-filled read, which has one of my favorite I love things in it, and that is a workbook, kind of sort of workbook idea after every single chapter, which, by the way, Diana was brilliant to do. So my question is going to start out today, because I'm going to let you have full run with this, of course, you just have to, is one of the first topics that you talk about is powerful and pitiful labels. And your words is in your book. Okay, in your book, I have highlighted the whole dang thing here. It says how you perceive yourself and others and why you are living within your current set of circumstances is a direct reflection of your identity. So will you start with this? And we're just run with it. We've got about 13 more minutes, and I'm not going to take up a second more of your time. Welcome, Diana Sumpter.
Thank you. Well, first of all, you get 2 pom-poms here, Suzanne. There you go. Yay! One of the labels is whenever I grew up in high school, I said I hated cheerleaders, and anybody with a pom-pom was dumb. And the Lord decided to call my bluff, that this is what I do, right, as I cheer people on. And thank you, Suzanne. First of all, I know I've only got 13 minutes, but I'm going to spend as much of that talking about your life and what you've done to help me reestablish my identity. And, our identity is the way that we see ourselves based on cumulative choices that we've made, and what I call a label, what people talk to you about, maybe it could be the color of your skin, it could be your education, it could be the side of the railroad tracks you come from, it could be choices your family made, it could be the bonehead decision that you made, right? Instead of that being what you did, it becomes who you are. And I just think about growing up in our company, and all of the times that you always talked about to look at what you did right and focus on where you're growing, and that there are never, there's never any losses. It's only wins and lessons. And, the way that you taught, of all the things that I loved about you that helps me in my identity, and I will drill down on that, is your married life, is the way that you live a life of excellence. And I'm talking powerhouse in this Rich Girl Workshop, in your business, and in your church, and all that you do, but you do it with such peace because you're not defined by what people say about you, that you have never lived your life based on what a group of people would say, good or bad, because you knew that you never had to answer to them. And I love the way that you unapologetically lived large and lived rich. And then in response to that, we all were given permission to do the same. So I just want to tell you that, as we write this book, and y'all know I got these shoes from Suzanne, aren't these darling? Yes, aren't they beautiful? They're the most painful shoes that have ever been designed ever in the history of womankind. They are beautiful. In fact, they hurt so much, I use them as decorations in my house. And so she gave me a challenge to win them, because me and my husband, we were on a trip somewhere, and we were like, oh my gosh, we love your shoes. We love your shoes. And she's like, oh, I'll give you a challenge for them. I know she did it because she loved me as a friend, but I also knew she was excited to get these bad boys out of her house and off her feet. So that is pretty funny. So thank you for helping me to step out of the box of excuses and into the land of excellence. And really, when people ask me, why did I write a book called Step Out of the Box? Your dream life is waiting. And it was after many years of an identity that was wound up around being a people pleaser. I love how Lisa Turkhurst talks about, I have that, the disease to please. And that my whole life was, I'm the first woman in my family to graduate high school. My dad was born in a tent. My grandparents were sharecroppers. And so my daddy, when he joined the Air Force, he got us out of the poverty financially, but they did not know that we also had to change the way that we thought. And in fact, I turned down a college scholarship to go into the Air Force because I was the son my dad never had. That's what we always said. My sister was always the glamour one. And I kept stats for the football team. I hauled hay with the guys. I mean, like I was my dad's sidekick. That was just how I grew up. And so one of the things I want to challenge you all is be very careful about who people tell you that they are, because it may stand in direct opposition of who God intended you to be and who God intended you to speak into. Because see, at 17, when I graduated high school and I went in the Air Force, I said, I don't ever want a job where I'm around women. I hate women. They drive me crazy. I probably said a lot of dirty words so that they knew that. And in 1981, the computer world was just beginning. And so I ended up in that field where there were very few women. And the reason I tell you that is that knowing now at almost 58 years old, going back to 17, almost 40 years ago, that what I said about who I am and who I was supposed to speak to was in direct opposition, because I was born to lead women. And so that's what I want to challenge you all. What is the thing that you're fighting the most? What is the thing that you said so often that it has not just been because a bad time with girls, or do you know what I'm saying? Like, or something along those lines, or maybe I can't be an entrepreneur because I tried that and it didn't work, or I can't be married because I tried that once and it didn't work, or I can't love the Lord because I tried that and I was betrayed, or whatever that is. Be very cautious when there's just a couple of things that don't work. Instead of saying, wow, I learned a lot from that situation, try to look at it as the lessons, like I was saying Suzanne did, versus taking it on, this is who I am. Right. So there's a big difference. Like if you made a crazy decision younger, right, and you get a reputation, as young girls, we're always talking about, our reputation. But if you're not really careful, that one unwise decision can change the entire trajectory of your life. A 1-degree pivot from where you're at to where you want to go changes everything. So that's what I mean by identity. What is it that you're fighting? And what is it about your life that, although it looks great on the outside, maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning when you feel like you have that elephant on your chest, you're like, this cannot be it. I would challenge you to ask yourself, am I living out the life I'm supposed to? Or do I have an identity crisis because I'm living out the dream life that somebody else had for me?
Oh, my gosh, that was excellent. Excellent. Okay, so the labeling and pivoting really go hand in hand. That's kind of what I'm hearing from you, because once you challenge your own labels, then you really do need to pivot, or you'll end up back in the same label again. I mean, that's kind of really what I'm hearing. That is powerful, the power of the pivot. And in your book, the super topics, the choice is yours. Either exert your power over your life, or your life will exert its power over you. Can you say more about that?
Yes, absolutely. Because whenever you wear a label can be, I kind of talk about it, like just to kind of give you an idea on page 34, and this is what Suzanne was talking about, is, just kind of some exercises, and they're really cute and they're really fun. Some guys have done it. They said it was a little curvy for them, but I said, well, that's okay. You can still do it. But like, for example, let's say you weren't good at math. Right? Or maybe you weren't good at school. I'll use our daughter as an example. High school, I'm going to tell you what, when she graduated high school, the principal celebrated, the secretary celebrated, we celebrated, like the girl barely made it out, right? It just was not her thing. But then she went back at 26 and graduated college in 3.5 years with honors, right? So the one thing that I made sure of is that I made sure no teacher told her that she was not smart, right? That every time that she would go to say a label, right, it would be like, no, that's not true about you. You were just being trained in an environment that didn't click with your beautiful self. Samantha, let me tell you who you are. This is why you're smart. So because we took those 8 years, and we just continue to I call it erase and replace. So she might say, well, I'm kind of dumb at that. No, you are not dumb with that. That you just were not presented that in a way your brain can work with that. Look, you're smart over here. So that's what I mean by an erase and replace. And here's where the challenge comes in. It's kind of the bridge between a label and an identity, is that whenever you wear that, that label of I'm the dumb one or I'm the unlucky one, we like to never got my parents to quit saying that about my poor sister. They're like, Diana, she's the happy one. Only good things happen to her. Donna's got a black cloud. And then as I was introduced to this, I'm like, Mom, you have to quit saying that. You are like killing her, like you're killing her happy with this. And so, it took, we kind of just had to maybe change subjects because, older people, now that I'm older people, we're a little bit harder to change. But, sometimes you can speak horrible things into people's life, even those that you love, right? Because you're making excuses for them, or this is not what we do in our family. That's why I didn't go to college, because my family was a military. Or maybe I'm the wrong color, I'm the wrong religion, I'm the wrong size, I'm the wrong hair color, or I got too many wrinkles, not enough wrinkles, I got too much chest, not enough, whatever that is. So those are what I would call pitiful labels. So here's what can happen is when you wear that long enough, it might be true in the moment. Like you might really feel dumb. Like they could be really teaching you physics and you'd be like, wow, this is like over my head, but it doesn't make you a dumb person, right? But if you're not careful, it just starts as a seed and then it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. So that anytime that you're ever presented with something that's challenging, it's like, oh, I can't learn that because I'm kind of dumb when it comes to that, or I'm not good at math, right? And then you say it again, and then somebody else, then we start using sarcastic humor, right? So most of us, because we're perfectionists, we defer with sarcastic humor. The problem is that our subconscious doesn't know the difference between your sarcastic humor to protect your heart, right? To beat them to the punch, because it doesn't hurt if I say it about me as much as it hurts if you say it about me. So you're just, all of a sudden that seed's growing. Then it becomes a filter. In other words, every decision you make in your life is going to run through that filter, right? In other words, you're married, now you fast forward 20 years later and you're trying to make a decision on your house or finances. Well, I'm dumb. I'm not good with math. Now what's happened is what happened to your 13-year-old self. It's like you've wormholed back to that 13-year-old self. And that filter doesn't give you the permission to be the powerful woman that God intended you to be. And that's why you've got to learn to recognize those labels that are not true, or you don't want to be true, right? You recognize it and then you erase it, but then you got to replace it, because it's just like in the Bible, right? If you clear out the room and you don't put something else in there, then it comes back worse. So that's what we always are talking about, erasing and replacing, right? So instead of I'm the dumb one, I talk about I'm the smart one. Look here, here, and here. So now I may never be a physics major, right? But I definitely am smart when it comes to communication, right? I'm the unlucky one. You know what? That was a bad break, but look at all the places where God has shown up, right? This is not what we do in our family, right? This is what we do. So that's what I'm saying is look at your life and where do you see a comment that just keeps showing up? And you'll start to recognize it through what I call a second conversation. And Suzanne, you probably remember Charlotte Cosina. It's one of our wonderful girlfriends.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes.
Just amazing. I still remember when she taught this concept, and I give her credit because I don't know that she got it from anybody else. And she gave me permission to use it even in the book. But a second conversation is where you will recognize these pitiful labels. So if I say to someone, oh my gracious, you are going to be a phenomenal wife. Whatever comes to mind, that is the label, that is the filter, that is the engine in which her marriage will work. So if her second conversation, girl, you're going to be a great wife, is yes, I will. And I'm excited to learn. I'm excited to break the patterns of my parents. I'm excited to do it different than my friends. That is going to be a powerful marriage versus, girl, you're going to be a great wife. And it's like, oh God, nobody in my family's ever made it. Oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible. I'm sure he's going to cheat on me, blah, blah, blah. Right? Well, guess what? You just wrote the whole story of your life. And because what you think about is what you attract. Y'all that don't have a good, solid inner circle, right? That's because that's what your second conversation is drawing to you. So that's why it's so important that you take a second when someone is giving you a compliment or you're trying to work through something. What is that chatter? And I always talk about just, it's your reticular activating system. So my people are always laughing because I'm always like touching the back of my head because I want to kind of knock that loose a little bit. So that's what I mean by that. So it starts out as a situation, a thought, a conversation. And then what happens is like we latch onto it. And then it starts to become, you start running it over. Then it becomes a filter. And then that filter is what you draw to you. And then that's where your identity happens. And that's why a lot of people will go through their life and they will never live the fullest life that they could because of one statement at 10 years old. So there you go. There's your counseling for free. I have no letters behind my name, only before my name. So there's that. That's a lifetime. That's why I wrote the book.
Of course. And I mean, you put in print so many of these concepts, but also I love the way that you gave, it's more than a how-to formula. It's a much more than that. I love reading this. And I think that every person should really read it. I really do. So here's the one last thing I'd like to really wrap up with. Actually, it's kind of it hit 2 points here, is that how does one know when they're making progress towards stepping out of their own box, especially this last part that you talked about? Because if you can't step out of your own labels, then that will always have you. And I noticed that you said recognize that you're doing that. Well, recognition is the first step in it. Recognize that you're doing it. For heaven's sakes, can't stop what you don't even know that you're doing or recognizing. But how does one know that they're making progress? And I know I'm throwing this at you, but I know that you've seen a lot of progress as well as myself in ourselves, but also in countless numbers of others.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. Do you know, nobody's ever asked me that. That's such an awesome question. I would say that really has to do with your inner circle. You know, if you want me to see your life, all I got to do is find your 5 friends, you know, and again, that's why I opened up thanking you, because you are one of those people. And we were laughing, like we don't see each other that often, but like we just pick up the conversation and we're saying it's because we're not needy, right? I don't feel guilty if I don't talk to you. I'm not sitting around going, why isn't Suzanne calling me, right? I'm just so excited that we get to be together. So part of being able to recognize it is the people around you. And so that when you start talking to them about, look, you know what, I need to erase this out of my life. And so a lot of times I'll have families, they'll just put like a jar, and anytime somebody says something negative or somebody says this phrase, right, they got to put money in there. Then you can go donate it to, you know, a family in need or something like that. So I think it's the biggest thing is you got to have like this village around you that is helping you, because it's going to come out before you know it. I would say that is one of the fun ways to be able to work toward that. The other thing is to look at, let's say it's something to do with finances, because finances was really my issue. I buried us in debt several times and all of that. So I had markers, like whenever I could stay out of debt for 3 months, then I kind of knew that I had maybe erased and replaced. Or if I felt myself binging, then it was like, do you know what I'm saying? Like I would be great and then I'd be bad. Right. So that could be alcohol, that could be drugs, that could be sex, that could be money, that could be people pleasing, whatever your thing is. Right. No, the worst one is the one you don't deal with, just so you know. So don't be judging me. So, but like, that's how I would know, is that whenever I would start seeing myself kind of, and that's what I talk about in the book, I was so warped about money that in our business, I made a ton of money, but because my parents were so negative about wealthy, influential people, that my subconscious was, those rich people they're never going to heaven. They're never going to have a family. They use people. They're horrible. So my subconscious was so warped about making money that even though I could make it because I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, I had to get rid of it subconsciously. So I always knew I was on my way out if I didn't feel the need to go binge money or put stuff on credit cards or to self-destruct. You kind of see it. It's like this spiral. The same thing again, depending on what you deal with. Maybe you cannot drink and then you're going to drink a lot, or sex or drugs or whatever your thing of the way your DNA is. Again, everybody's got a battle. So it's just having those little markers around there, but to understand that you can pivot by pivot, label by label, erase and replace that out of there. And there is a life of excellence. I talk about the land of the lazy, the maze of mediocrity, and that being able to step into that land of excellence really is done thought by thought. And then the cool part is then you're able to reach back and then help another person, because that's how we change the world, is one thought at a time that you master, then you reach back and help somebody else. That's what Suzanne did for me. She learned a lesson, she reached back and helped me learn it. Now I do it. That's legacy.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's the only really effective way to really live life and be a true influence is have those experiences. Well, in your book, and I don't want you to tell the story, but I'm going to do a teaser. In your book that had me rolling on the ground, seriously, was when you mooned the entire Salt Lake City airport. And if you guys that are listening to this, if you want to know more about that is funny because it shows her humanness, her vulnerability. I mean, it shows everything. You're going to have to pick up the book and read that story yourself. Diana Sumpter, I want to say thank you so much. Is there any one last thing that you?
Yeah, I was just going to end with a poem because I just think this is something fun. I think it's so important that, when people are trying to put labels on you, right, or they're not doing what they want to, then, just take their name off your board, right? If you've got like a little board, just wipe their name off the board, wipe them off of your calendar and just say, bless their little hearts. They're doing the best they can. And then you, of course, squirt yourself with glitter because you can't be mad and sad if you're covered with glitter. And then tell yourself this. I challenge you to put this on your mirror. We had it copyrighted many, many years ago. And it is that you are a woman of excellence. So if you're listening to this, please receive this right now. Listen to your second conversation and say, yes, I am. Yes, I am. But I am part of the fellowship of excellence. I've stepped over the line. The decision has been made. I won't give up, shut up, or let up until I've stayed up, stored up, paid up, and prayed up. I will not look back, let up, slow down, back away, or be still. My past is redeemed. My presence makes sense. My future is secure. I am finished and done with low living, colorless dreams, and dwarf goals. I now live by faith, lean on his presence, labor by power, and live by prayer. I will not be bought, compromised, detoured, lured away, turned back, diluted, or delayed. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the presence of fear, or negotiate at the table of the enemy. I will no longer meander in the maze of mediocrity. From this day forward, our banner will be clear. When you see us, you will see men and women of excellence. So thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, that was excellent. I love hearing that. Been a while since I've heard this. Congratulations. Congratulations on everything. Look forward to spending a little more time with you, my friend Diana. And hey, everybody on the Rich Girl Workshop, if you've got a few words for Diana that you would like to have her hear, just type them in the comments and she'll have access to all of those. And she'll even reply to a few of them, I am sure. All right, you guys, have a wonderful Holy Week. And it is definitely the Holy Week. And wonderful and happy Easter to recognize the most incredible event that has ever happened in human history over 2,000 years ago. Love you guys.
Bye-bye.